Hello, everyone. I'm very happy to be here, and thank you for having me. It is a great pleasure for me to come and talk to you about the work we are doing at the World Identity Network, leveraging exponential technology to fight some of the humanity's toughest challenges: human trafficking, modern slavery, and other human rights abuses. I have been inspired by the work we've done collectively at the World Bank and at the United Nations. But it all started when I first discovered mobile technology. And although quite late compared to digitally native, I've seen mobiles transform the world in ways never seen before. I was born in the poorest country of Europe, in a poor village, and I have seen mobile technology become a transformational tool that brought access to information and other opportunities. I was lucky to be part of the team that launched the first GSM mobile connection in the country, and then I traveled the world throughout Asia and Africa, bringing this innovation to the poorest countries as part of my work at the World Bank. And one thing that became clear to me is that technology can really transform lives. I went on and even wrote a PhD thesis on that was titled "Diffusion of Mobile Technologies." And what came out very clearly to me was that technology has always been an enabler of human evolution. In his seminal work, *Sapiens*, I'm sure most of you have heard about it, Yuval Harari says that throughout history, technology has been there for the human species to survive. Essentially, technology has enabled humans to survive. But as centuries were passing by, we are now at a critical point in time where technology is being used for expansion, not only for survival. Mobile technologies, but also nanotechnology, artificial intelligence, biotechnology, all of these technologies are becoming an integral part of our lives. And with it, we are elevating the human condition, and we are expanding our world, mostly, and perhaps even, to conquer other worlds and to conquer our existing human condition. But technology has also served us for many other purposes. For instance, technology has also been there for us to redefine other aspects of human interactions, like trust, for example. One research I have done together with Michael Casey from MIT Media Lab was to look at how technology throughout history has enabled us to better interact and to better transact. If centuries ago we were relying on the memory and the discretion of tribal chiefs who were issuing rye stones to certify that we are who we say we are and we are transacting and engaging in interactions with other tribe members. Later, it became the central authorities and then the commercial banks who were issuing currencies in the form of precious metals or other banknotes that were serving as a token for our exchanges. Eventually, later on, we have seen other trust bearers mitigating our frictions and facilitating our interactions until to this point today, where we trust more algorithms and distributed computer networks on ledgers such as blockchain to certify our online transactions. So we came to this point of time where we trust technology and cryptography tools more than we trust humans. But technology is also there to serve a bigger purpose, to help us achieve some bigger goals. Indeed, we live in times characterized by global challenges. Conflicts, wars, violence, climate change is forcing millions of people to flee their homes. and to leave behind all their belongings and sometimes the loved ones. There is one thing that these people always need to take with them in order to succeed in their journey. And this is a proof of their identity. It is a proof of who they are. Yet today, there is 1 billion people out there who has no way of proving who they are. This problem disproportionately affects women and children. Without a way of proving who they are, sometimes without a proof of their birth, these people can literally become invisible. And they can't be recognized as citizens, they can't access even the most basic services, like education, healthcare. The refugees that become stateless arrive in host countries that do not recognize their rights to existence and their rights to these services. But here is the hardest part. By being invisible, these people can slip away from the attention of the authorities and can become vulnerable and prey to human traffickers, who are using then fake ID documents to smuggle them across borders and later on sell them into modern slavery, coerce them into sex trafficking, or even worse, use them for organ trade. And this is something that resonates deeply with me as someone who is born in the poorest country and also a prime source country in Europe for victims of human trafficking. And I've told this story before. I invite you to watch my TED Talk where I talk about my journey and how, with a proof of identity, I was able to get education and to get protection so that I can avoid becoming one of those invisible children and one of those victims of human trafficking. When I was at the World Bank, we did another research where we looked at how identification can support the global grand challenges. And it came out that about 10 of the grand challenges can only be attained if you have a recognized form of identification. So it's really very important, and it really goes beyond the humanitarian uses. It is also critical for those like you today who one day can flee their homes because of calamities linked to climate change, and then you need disaster relief. You need food, you need shelter, you need healthcare, you need a range of services that will only be provided to you if you have a proof of who you are, if you can go there and say, I'm entitled to it and I want to have access to it. So how is the world addressing this? And you may ask, from my experience at the World Bank or United Nations, how are these global superpowers addressing these issues and leveraging exponential technology to help address these challenges? Well, you may know that the Secretary General of the United Nations has just recently issued a strategy on new technologies, and it's today very prominently featured on the member states' agenda. That technology needs to be embedded in the mandate of every country office at the UN, and also a technology bank for least developed countries has been established at the UN so that exponential technologies are being brought to places where today knowledge about tech is lacking, and most critically, the implementation of it is still lagging behind. There are, of course, risks associated with the implementation of these strategies and of these technologies. And just off the top of my head, I can cite a few. For example, the biometric identification. It is something that is very useful, obviously, when you want to catch a trafficker, when you want to get hold of someone who is lost, and it's only facial recognition that can give you a hint of where this person is. But think about all the issues related to privacy, to security, and to mass surveillance. Today, there are a number of countries that are under authoritarian regime that pose this risk to humanity of tracking and tracing the dissidents and silencing those who advocate for human rights, for civil rights, for privacy, for the right to individual privacy. Also, artificial intelligence is something that obviously we all talk about and are concerned that while it provides more economic growth, it can also accentuate the disparities between the nations, and it can also increase unemployment in some of the countries that are heavily affected by automation. Finally, each and all of us have seen how online networking and social media can increase the opportunities for connection, but also decrease the opportunities for us to be really authentic. And while it has created this network of like-minded people, it has also exacerbated the disparities between the various groups, where hate speech has been exacerbated, and it is actually posing a huge threat to democracies, like, for example, in the Cambridge Analytica scandal we've seen and Facebook. So what can we do about now that we are aware of some of these risks, and we still want to help everyone on Earth to access the opportunities provided by the new technologies? One way to think about it, and there is a lot of discussion at the UN and the World Bank and all these global institutions, is to be more inclusive and to give a broader range of stakeholders a seat at the table, invite them to the dialogue, and to provide them with the opportunity to build consensus, so that all the differences that are being brought up at the table of discussions are being addressed, and then the voices of everyone are being heard. This is a bit new, because in these privileged circles, as you may know, not even academia has been part prominently of these dialogues between the member states. Now we are talking about bringing in a completely different group of stakeholders, the ones that I call the global citizens, the ones who are actually concerned with the implementation of these technologies. A lot of these new tech are being developed on private infrastructures and bypassing some state jurisdictions, but also without the involvement of this broader stakeholders group. We hear a lot of talk in the Silicon Valley about saving the refugees and doing this and that for the world's disenfranchised. But most of the time, what I find concerning is that at the table of discussion, be it in San Francisco or even here in Europe at Davos, I don't see the refugees and I don't see the disenfranchised. And I think this is one of our biggest challenges, is how do we include those who are concerned with the deployment of new technologies, even if they are being designed at the other side of the planet? How do we make sure that they will eventually serve the interests of these people, of everyone on Earth, regardless of origins, cultural beliefs, education level, or prosperity levels? So with that, I want each of us here to identify as a global citizen, because there are no borders in the world when we look at it from the space, and we are all equal and we all deserve, in front of exponential technologies, the same chance that we were given when we were all a human species, an emerging sapiens, when we were provided with the opportunity to evolve, just like in Harari's books. I have a special message for you. I don't know why this interesting mist is here, but this one is also really, really special for you.
When we see the Earth from space, we see ourselves as a whole. We see the unity and not the divisions. We must become global citizens. Our only boundaries are the way we see ourselves, the only borders, the way we see each other.
Be a global citizen. Be part of it. The first part was obviously Stephen Hawking, as you know. The second part was a kite that we have specifically designed to launch a new initiative called Global Citizen. And we had the kite, we had it tried by the world champion of kite surfing on the Necker Island. And what we want to do next is to have a space shuttle launched to reaffirm this message and to prove again to humanity that from space there are no borders and we only see each individual being equal to each other, and that with the technology that we have today, with the opportunities that the technologies present us, we need to bring more unity and more opportunities to everyone. In terms of identity, we advocate for global identity, for global citizens. We believe that everyone has the right to it, and it's not only the privileged ones that need to get access to those UN blue passports, which I was lucky to have, except I didn't need it. In fact, I had another country's passport that opened me all the gates. The ones who really need it are the refugees, the stateless, the ones who are fleeing conflicts and violence, and the ones who have no idea at all. So we are advocating for this, and I would like you to join us on this movement, become a global citizen, and support our cause. And I also want to thank Singularity University for providing this opportunity to learn more about exponential technologies. And I'm thrilled that this event is being live streamed, and I would really like for this connection to be available to everyone in every country, if we can do it. For those who are less fortunate than us to be in Helsinki today, I would like them to join and feel part of it, feel part of this transformation, feel part of this human evolution, because it's only together that we are writing this next chapter of the human story. Thank you.